Hello there, my dear. I am so excited to come to you today with a channeled message. Um, and if you're here today, you're considered part of the Truly Yours Collective. I channel from the record specifically for those who are part of this collective who are meant to receive this message. Please note that I usually don't have a set theme or idea as to what the message is before I hit record. So we're just going to get started. And as a reminder to folks, remember, the entire message might be for you, just certain components might be for you. Like, trust yourself in your own knowing and see what comes forward for you. Um, but if something doesn't fit, that means it's not meant for you, it's for someone else in the collective. And that can also be the case. One message can contain a multitude of meanings and approaches for everybody who may be here. All right, so let's get started and see what they have to share with us. So, the theme and the title of the message is enough of the humaning. And they're saying I had this whole moment before I turned on the camera and um where it was like really difficult for me to like get started. And they're saying like that's the core of the message is that people really get caught up in the minutia of what it means to human, like what do you look like? How do you exist in the world? How do you do this? And in what way do you do it? That makes sure that like everybody is sort of okay with the way that you do it. And that sometimes that sort of like that takes away from what it means to live as a soul in this lifetime. And so they're asking us to consider like where are we humaning too hard and where can we release control? Because that's what they're showing me is they're like there's a batch of you going around, a batch of us, right? Because me included, going around on trains and automobiles, and we're like walking these very human paths, and we forget like the life of the soul and the spirit because those things require so much of our brains to be on board that we forget that like there's a greater perspective and insight and way of being that we're being called to. But because life on earth is quite heavy and it feels quite dense, and there's certain things that always feel like they must happen, they must occur, they need to happen within a certain set period of time. Like we get caught up all in that. And then we sort of lose ourselves. And then they're showing me like that we also lose our hearts along the way, right? So if my heart is just to show up on camera and to be of service and to channel whatever message is coming through, then anything else that's very humaning is just an obstacle and a challenge to the thing that I'm here to serve with, right? And so they're asking me to encourage you to consider what are the components in your life that have taken over your heart's desire and your heart's um need. They're saying like your heart needs to be of service, your heart needs to be fulfilled. And that's also why you came, not just a human. And so they're wondering like what does that involve for you and for all of us? And so they showed us they showed me this vision of like three different ways in which our heart might be calling us, right? So one, and ooh, even before I like continue, like my heart is tugging. So I'm like clair cognizant and I'm clairsentient, and my heart is like ooh, pulsating and squishy. Um, and the first out of the three that they say our heart might be calling to is our creativity. And they're like, what what is it your heart is calling to you creatively to do, to be, that you're not um honoring in this moment? And then they said that there's a group of us here to work with people. And how is your heart, how are you not honoring your heart and its desire to be with people? And they're saying like be with people could be social, it could be work. They're showing me people who are meant to work with people one-on-one and support them. Um, and they're showing me like that one-on-one can look like a million things. They showed like a batch of people helping people like exercise with their food. And then there's like the people who help people with like their well-being and their emotions and stuff like that, right? And then the other set of people within that category is like family, and that there's something within the family unit that your heart is calling you and pulling you towards, that you're here to do and to honor. And that's the thing your heart is pulling you towards. And they're saying like family could be the creation of your own family. It could be the resolution of something within the family unit. And the other could be like breaking with generational habits and ways of being that then will show the greater family unit what's actually possible. Because they're saying like sometimes we assume like our work with people and following our heart's desire means like we have to follow and be in alignment and in line with what the family unit requires. And they're like, no, some of you, when you just decide to walk your path the way it's meant to be walked and the way that you walk it, you open up the portal of possibility within the family unit. And that's also part of what you're being called to do. It's like whatever it is that they're showing me like there's this dissonance of like this thing that you're scared to do that you think will separate you from the family unit is actually going to allow the family to open up as a portal of possibility to consider like, oh, like you give people hope, you give people the ability to imagine what else, and that will then bring and create a cohesiveness in the family unit in a way that also honors your individuality, your unique way of being, and what you're supposed to do in the world, while also changing the way the family like exists, um, cohesively works together, comes together, all that stuff. Um, so it was creativity, people. Oh, they just showed me this vision of like, there's some of you that are here just to like do, but not like do as in like a basic humaning, because they're like humaning could look like routine. You have to put on like, you have to do your hair, you have to wash your teeth, you have to like pay your bills. And they're like, but these set of you are here to like do. They like show me you like doing like very real, tangible things in the world that contribute to the world's like ability to exist. And so they're showing me these people are more of like they're saying like engineers and like, um, electricians and like people who work with their hands to create something. They're like, even those of you who create homes or in construction, like there's a batch of you that your heart is pulling you towards that. And they're saying it could be create homes, sell homes, help people with their homes, right? Like there are some of you who have these gifts that are like to do and bring things into fruition on the physical realm because you can see it in your mind's eye, even though other people can't, and you have the ability to do that, or you have a desire to get a set of skills to help you do that. And so they're saying that's who this message is for too. It's like calling forward these three um types of folks, right? Like the creatives, those who are people, and then there are the people who are like to do and to construct and to create things that actually exist in the physical realm, which allow people, there's something which allow people to human in a way that's actually really quite beautiful. And they're reminding me like go back to the main message. If the main message is that right now we're really busy humaning and we're not touching base with our heart, after you heard those three different ways in which your heart is calling you forward, which way is actually calling you forward? And can you take one step forward? And they're showing me like your journey is one that has many steps, and often those steps are not with you alone. Like you imagine you're taking this path, you're gonna do this thing, and nobody else is doing it. They're like, that's a lie. One, the divine is always with you. And two, there are people that if you seek them out could walk that path with you. And they're saying all it requires is taking one step. Like sometimes we look at the greater thing that our heart is pulling us towards, and all we can see is how much work and how much time it's going to take to get to the final outcome. And they're like, well, we don't get there. Like that's not the first step we take, right? It's like, they're like, when you build a house, you don't just go build it. You have to like intentionally plan it out, right? And once it's planned, then you have to follow that. You have to create the foundation, and then you have to create the things that create a sense of form and function. And then you put in the things that'll make it feel like it has different rooms. And then you go in and you put in all the components that make it a house with like cupboards and walls and like all this other stuff, right? Things that make it livable and habitable. And they're saying that your heart is pulling you towards this thing. Your heart keeps pulsating and pulsating, and it's like and they're saying like the humaning is sometimes a distraction to not honor the heart. And so sometimes we human even harder when our heart is pulsating hard. Like some people believe and imagine that like, oh, the thing I'm here to do, like I have to go down a rabbit hole and I have to pay all these people and I have to go and get all these like personality tests and these quizzes and I should get a reading because I should know what my purpose is and like all this stuff. Like people like to act like they don't know, but if you're on this video, then you know. But your response has been to human harder rather than to open your heart to taking the one tiny small step that allows you to explore it. Because they're saying, even as you walk that path, the way that you imagine it, just like building a home, everything is not going to go according to plan. There are going to be days that rain that don't fall in alignment with the building schedule. What are you going to do? Keep building? No, you have to sit there and accommodate it and accept it and then see what else it brings, right? And the same will be on your path. So if you were just to accept the fact that the path can look a certain way to you now, but that doesn't mean that's the way it's going to stay. That's not the way you're going to live it because things are going to happen as you walk that path. You're going to even learn things. You're like, even right now, you're like, in your heart of hearts, you may be wanting to create something and then you walk the path and you're like, that's not exactly what I'm going to create, though. I'm going to create this thing. I'm like, they're like, that's great. The point is, you walk the path in order to get clarity. You can only get clarity if you decide to take a step forward. Right. And I think they're saying often we believe taking steps means actions like when we human. But sometimes taking a step forward is just setting an intention. Sometimes taking a step forward is just, they're saying like sometimes making the decision to follow your heart, that decision in and of itself is taking a step forward. And so if you were to honor that, they're saying the next step arrives, right? When you slow down and take into account and you actually listen to what comes forward. Because once you've decided something and you're no longer questioning and you're no longer back and forth and you're whatever, like the divine, whatever you believe in, God, the universe, spirit, your guides, they come forward and they continue to usher you down the path. Because if you know that that's what you're here meant, if you're here meant to, if you're here to do that and you're meant to do that, then everything that you require will be provided to you as long as you slow down and pay attention enough. Right? And they're saying like some of you like want everything provided for step five and step one, and they're like, that's not how it works. You got to start at step one and be provided what you need at the beginning, those level of resources. And then when you continue taking each step forward, more will be revealed. More, they're showing me like they can sense your level of investment. They're showing me like a foot in the sand. They're like, your foot moves deeper into the sand. It reaches and goes beyond into the depths and the coolness so that then you're like landing. And when that happens, then even more becomes possible because you're sort of grounded. You've made a decision, you continue taking steps to it. But you need to give yourself that opportunity by continuing to move forward and not expecting that the resources you need for step seven and step eight are going to be given to you at step one. That's not how it works, right? And they're also saying, of course, time is something flexible. It can shrink, it can expand to meet you, but it can only do that if you begin to take a step and then you keep making, you like create a sense of momentum. Without the momentum, time can like expand and shift to meet you at all times, right? It can't be like, oh, you take one step, you decide today, the house gets built tomorrow. It's like, no, like it gets developed and created through this level of investment, the heart. They're showing me like your heart's stake in it, your human related actions that bring it into fruition. They're saying like your faith will then bring forward what's required for you to do the thing that you're here to do. My heart's still squishy after all that. I'm going to see if there's any other messages they want to share in relation to that. They're saying, don't go fast. And they're like, be kind to yourself on the path. So they're saying, like, sometimes we take a step and we like think that it's gonna like, uh, sometimes some of it, they're saying some people will take one step and it'll take them a little longer to take the next step. But there's a whole batch of you who, after you take the first step, want to take step two through five in like one leap. And they're like, take it down a notch. Like, don't run through it fast, run through it in a meaningful way. They're saying you don't need to go super slow, but you don't need to stick all the steps in one giant leap. because by the time you make that leap, you're going to be exhausted and you're not going to be able to go to the next step because you try to do too much at once, right? And so they're like, pay attention to your body, your mind, and your heart. And then when you're still lost, touch base with your spirit and your soul because it will always guide you, right? And they have this big quote that's often said, it's like whatever's meant for you won't miss you. And they're like, it might sound really hokey, but what if you always trusted that your particular step was there to show you something that only you needed to see because it's your unique path? Right? Like while many people do some of the things that are under the creativity, under the people, and under the like doing stuff in the world, everybody does it. Everybody's path is unique. And so maybe that's what you also need to accept is that like your path is going to be unique to you and you can make it your own. But that when you try to go fast just for the sake of going fast because you just want to get moving as quickly as possible, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get there in a state to be able to enjoy it and be able to move even to the next step because you're all imagining you're just trying to like push and go through to so you could arrive somewhere, but they're saying like it doesn't work that way. Like once you arrive there, um wherever there is, there's going to be another place you create that you're going to want to arrive at. um and so like but that's not how it works. That's just not how it works. So what if you just knew that you're always on this path and this journey and that it gets to be your own. You get to make it your own. You don't have to follow other people's rules to it. And they're saying there are guides and there are mentors who are going to give you what you need at different junctures. And then you get to decide, do I really like that? Or do I need to find someone else because I want to try this approach? Like know thyself, they're saying. And then listen to whatever resources are brought to you. Because even the ones that might be brought in the beginning where you're like, wow, I chose something and it didn't help me the way I thought it would. But is that the lesson in that? Right? And they're actually showing me that they're saying there's a whole batch of you who've already started this process and you've asked for help or you've begun on this journey. And you're this batch and group of people that have realized like you chose wrong or like you weren't given the right guidance. And they're like, what about your agency though? Like, what if you were to sit here and consider this part of your journey? Because if you're already in step 5, step 6, step 7, and they're like, the numbers are just human numbers. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? But they're just using them in an effort to support you and moving through the reading in some sort of like cognitive way. But they're saying like if you're already down there, right, then the truth also is that you get to have some sort of agency over the lessons that you've accumulated throughout this time, right? And so did you choose wrong or did you just receive the lesson that you needed in order to take the next right step? Right? Because sometimes we don't know, we think we know what we want, we do it, and then we realize we don't like it. And maybe that's the lesson so that you can then consider, why don't I like it? Why doesn't this work for me? And they're showing me like my whole business journey is like trying different things, right? Similar to like I have all these degrees in English. I'm like, wow, that was a lot of degrees for something I may not pursue. And they're like, yeah, but what did you get? Like, what did I learn in the level of refinement over 13 years, right? And that's right? Like I learned a great deal of storytelling. I learned about how messages can be received in so many different ways, right? And now I'm a channel and I'm like, oh, right? Like sometimes you don't understand the path you're on until you keep walking it. And so they're telling those of you who began these journeys already to work into this field of like being creative or working with people or doing the thing you're meant to do here. If you've already started, and they're asking you to remember you're still learning. Like you're going to be learning your life long, but they're like, if you're stuck or you feel like you came to this video and this message was for you, then the question is, what did you receive from your journey this far? And how can you take that into consideration as you move forward? And that's where comes in the big statement like, be kind and compassionate with yourself. You get to make mistakes, you get to learn. You don't know how to do whatever it is you signed up to do. So accept that. Like, I've always felt like the best place to be in learning is in the beginning because nobody has any expectations of you. Like none. You're not supposed to freaking know anything. That's the point, right? So now, even if you've been on your journey a while, I'm like, yeah, so you know one thing, but what don't you know that you want to know? And you get to be a beginner again, right? Because that then they're showing me like that creates they show me like this huge like opening. This creates this opening where you feel more free to actually experiment, to trust your heart and follow that and not so much the mind, right? In the sequence of 6, 7, 8, right? They use those numbers, but they're saying like sometimes you go back to step 2 after being on step 7 because you're like, oh, damn, right? And like that's part of the process too. And that gets to be part of the learning as you refine and you master something that you feel like you're here to do. Because if you're here to do it in this lifetime, you're not just here to do it once and do it well. It's over a lifetime that it continues to be refined. Um, I don't like the word mastered, but it's there. It's something we give people. But it's something that you get to begin to really take and make your own, right? Because they're showing me like sometimes it's just like you making it your own. See if they have any final messages. They're saying like don't be scared. And if you are scared, they're saying then it's a good thing because that means you're doing something your brain can't even like fathom. And that gets to be okay too. And they're saying sometimes and they're saying like you're not um they're saying sometimes in our human mind we imagine that we're uh making these huge life-changing decisions in one moment. And they're saying like that's not what they're asking you to do. They're not asking you to leave your job tomorrow. They're not asking you to um spend thousands and thousands of dollars on something. Like the notion of how we human and the level of investment that we make is not what they're asking you to do. And that's why they're saying don't be scared. Because what they're asking you to do is really scary to your mind because it doesn't make any sense to it. But on the human level, if you were to like zoom out and just take a moment, you're not actually doing something that's going to bring you great harm or great level of risk. My apologies. They're saying I'm sneezing when I said great level of risk because the heart, they're saying the mind feels it's like a great risk. But it's actually really not when you touch base with your heart. Because what's in alignment with your heart will feel very risky to a mind trying to make sense of something that just does not make sense. Not yet. And so sometimes it'll be like a reaction of like, oof, right? Like my sneezing. Because I don't usually sneeze during readings like and so I always take everything that comes in as part of the message. So they're like, it may feel like you're allergic to doing something that's not in alignment with your brain, but you got to give yourself time to get adjusted to being with making decisions according to your heart because they're saying it's going to take some time, but the only way you can get used to that is by doing it more than once, is by choosing to do it. And they're like, it doesn't have to be these grandiose gestures of money and movement and all that stuff. Like a lot of people like to believe like it's the big decision, it's the big change. And it's like, no, sometimes it's the tiniest little thing that will then form into this path that then brings forth this greater decision. And for you right now, it's literally just a small heart-based decision and action. So like they're saying like stop humaning, start hearting, right? They're like start being and making decisions from that place. And they're like, it could be as simple as what you decide to eat today. It could be as simple as an activity you do. It could be as simple as walking outside for 5 minutes. It could be as simple as, oh my God, I really want that cup of coffee and I just want to sit somewhere for 5 minutes alone. My heart longs for that. My heart wants to eat a banana today. My heart wants to put on really pretty earrings. My heart just wants to find a new lip shade so that I can enjoy looking at myself in the mirror. Like it's like they're just giving me these random things because sometimes it's just honoring your heart, even if it doesn't make sense to your mind in the midst of a day where you spend a lot of it humaning, right? They're like in the midst of a day in which you're running from one thing to another and serving other people and doing what you have to do. The question becomes is how have you served your heart today? And how can you start hearting more? All right, my dears, we are complete. Mm, that was a big message. All right. And if you feel like you need some support with taking action I have a free resource that you can pick up. It's like a 3 to 4 step process I send you via email over a span of days to keep it really simple so that you can take action in a really meaningful way as a result of reading this message. Because what I know in my heart to be really, really true, not just as a channeler, but as a human, is that we can hear a lot of things and people can tell us a lot of things. But it doesn't shift anything until we decide to actively put it into place in some way, whatever the small action may be. Um, Even if it's just making a decision, even if it's just setting the intention, sometimes that action enough, um, I was gonna say triggers, but like announces, activates to the divine, like, oh, you took the message and now you're ready for the other messages we're ready to send you to help you move forward with what came forward in the reading. So check that out, and I'll see you in the next one.